Hello, and welcome back to the Cascaid Effect podcast. I'm your host, Alex Galeazzi, and joining me today is Tram, the Director of Health Coaching at Cascaid Health. Tram, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming. So I want to talk to you a little bit about health coaching, as it might be a surprise.
Okay.
What is health coaching?
Yeah, health coaching. Well, I started off as a dietitian. Throughout the years, I've been given wonderful various opportunities to coach and grow. And I was able to zoom out a bit and see health from a more holistic point of view. And from there, I was able to coach not only in nutrition and the physical sense, like sleep and movement, but then also take into account somebody's physical health and social health, emotional health, mental health. And so that's what I do as a health coach is I really take into account the person as a whole.
Okay.
And at Cascaid, as the Director of Health Coaching, I'm able to translate the clinical theories and behaviors that we know of to the actual product that we're creating at Cascaid, and then also be of service to the people, the health seekers that we see.
So could you give me an example of that? Like, what does that entail for you? Like going through, I guess, I don't even know what to call the process, honestly.
Right. Well, health coaching, it's not so directive as, you would go in to see a provider, a doctor, and they would point out what might be wrong with you. They might diagnose you for something, and then they'll provide a specific treatment plan for you. A dietitian and a personal trainer, on the other hand, they might have a specific therapeutic prescription on paper that they would write down for you to follow. A therapist would look at somebody's health and see what in the past is impacting their now and help diagnose, treat specific mental health conditions and help them in the present moment. Whereas a health coach, it's more like we're working and co-collaborating with the person in the present moment and looking forward into the future. And so sometimes it might be beneficial to take a deep breath and take a deep dive if somebody wants to share more about their past and give us context about, what are some blockers for them.
So tell me, because I feel like there's sort of a bit of a gap sometimes between emotional health and mental health and being fit and healthy and performing well. Do you see that a lot?
I see that so many times in my practice, and there is a lot that we can take into account with mental and emotional health. And one of the things that I'm thinking of is this concept of self-compassion. And this ties in so intimately with somebody's health and performance goals. For example, if somebody has such high expectations of themselves and they cannot meet those expectations, if they don't have a sense of self-compassion, then it could be very blocking. If, life throws you a curveball and your parents get sick and you can't perform at the same level that you normally do, that takes you away from the game or whatever focus you have. And it can be really hard to get back on track. But if somebody has this element of self-compassion, then they're able to look at things flexibly. They would look at things with the growth mindset. And Dr. Kristen Neff is the founder of Self-Compassion. And she says that when people have this sense of self-compassion, it's not that they're lazy when they're able to scale things down or substitute activities. It actually means that they are very adaptable to change.
Another thing that's coming to mind is sort of the equation of this ideal package to reach, longevity and health and wellness, this perfect picture, and the team behind that, right? I think a lot of times people think, dietitian, nutritionist, coach, doctor, et cetera. Where does health coach fall in, and where does it differentiate itself from the other roles that people commonly think of?
This is so exemplary displayed at Cascaid because you have a board of directors and it's made up of so many different disciplines. You have physicians, you have specialists, you have dietitians, you have trainers, performance coaches, and then you have health coaches too. A lot of these disciplines are I wouldn't say so directive, but these disciplines are able to point out things like hidden risks.
Sure.
They are able to point out diagnoses. They are able to point out different blood biomarkers that may be off. The health coach helps the health seeker connect the dots. And so at Cascaid, we completely believe in autonomy and a patient's desire to change, and the patient's priorities, and the health seeker's willingness to take the next step. And so we are providing them all the information that they need, whether it be through blood work, diagnoses and diagnostics and imaging. And the health coach, where they're sitting in, is they're applying behavior change strategies to help somebody deal with things such as ambivalence. So ambivalence is this kind of push and pull, like I feel like doing this, but I don't feel like doing this. And we treat ambivalence as a completely normal thing. Whereas maybe standard medicine might say, if you say, I don't have time to exercise, a traditional approach might be, okay, just make it a priority, you know? Whereas we're treating ambivalence as a completely normal thing. And we are just like sitting in the muck.
Okay.
I like to describe it like that, sitting in the muck with a health seeker.
Okay.
Say a mom
Getting
comes
in the trenches with them.
Yeah, get in the trenches with them.
So you're there as, let me repeat back what I heard so you can tell me if I properly understand it. You're the person who helps connect the dots, going between the different disciplines and understanding the vision behind each of them to weave them into something more comprehensive for the health seeker.
Correct.
Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
Okay.
Yes. We help take all of the data and all of the information, because we are inundated with health information these days. And what we are trying to do for the health seeker is to simplify it for them and help make sense of it all.
Very important role.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like confusion's a huge barrier for a lot of people.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And the cool thing is that the board of directors, we all meet so that everybody has like this aligned, cohesive message and vision. And we really want to understand where the health seeker is at. And that is a really comprehensive, collaborative approach that I have not seen in my practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's exciting. So it's a new frontier for you then a little bit.
It is.
What do you think the reason is that this isn't part of the existing healthcare system? Because it sounds pretty important to me.
Oh my gosh, it's so important because coaching is like a collaboration. I think the standard medical model can support a 15 to 30 minute medical office visit, maybe once a year, you know? So then you have like 364 days between your visits. And health doesn't happen at that medical visit. It happens in the daily friction of life in those 364 days between your visits.
Right.
And so say you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed with hypertension, high blood pressure. And now the doctor says, okay, here's a PDF, eat less salt and move more. And that is the directive advice you're given.
Right.
And you have all these wonderful intentions to do so when you get home, but then you go home and you're going straight to work.
Right.
You're putting out multiple fires at work, so then the stress is still high. You're probably sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day. And
more when you podcast on the weekends.
more
too.
when you podcast on the weekends. And so not having the structure to accommodate physical activity. And then now you have no time for dinner, so I'm going to DoorDash something.
Right.
And so what coaching can provide is that we can fill in that structural gap with figuring out a person's daily routines and how they can translate that clinical recommendation into their own daily lives.
Okay, so another thing I want to ask you is, there's a lot of different kinds of motivation out there right now. You know, you see a lot on social media, you know, gym culture, fitness culture. There's a lot of we'll call them ways to motivate oneself. They're out the zeitgeist right now. And I imagine as someone who factors in emotional health and mental health, someone's motivation is probably a pretty big component of that, is it?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
So what do you find is a good way to get motivation for folks in your experience, or a healthy way, or reliable? You pick the way, but let's something motivation. What's the best way to do that?
There's many different types of motivation. There's extrinsic motivation, something that comes from the external environment. There's intrinsic motivation that comes within you, that's internal. And some examples of extrinsic motivation can be fear is something
Okay.
I'm thinking about. So
Is it extrinsic?
that's extrinsic.
Okay. Now, let's
So-
pretend someone out there doesn't know what that means.
Right, external.
External. Gotcha. Okay.
External motivation.
Okay, just
So,
making sure.
say my external motivator is to not get heart disease.
Sure.
Say my parents have it, and so now I'm like fearful of my cholesterol levels. That's an external motivator. Another external motivator can be like cash. You know,
Okay.
if you complete this challenge at work, then you would get $150.
Okay. Nice.
That's a nice extrinsic motivator. And internal motivation is more like you're doing it because you enjoy it. You do it because there's a sense of pride that comes with it. You're doing it because it just is fulfilling
Sure.
for you. And a lot of people will say, like, when they're really enjoying something, they lose track of time. That's like a sense of flow.
Yeah.
Is there a time where you're feeling a sense of flow?
In motivation?
Yeah. Like when you're
Yeah.
working on, tending to your animals or anything like that.
Absolutely. I think, for me, it's certain music gets me into a good flow, soundtrack scores, things like that,
Yeah.
different strides in checking things off a list, stuff like
Right.
that, or ways that I really, I feel very driven to keep going.
Yeah. So those are intrinsic motivators.
I didn't know there were kinds of motivation like that. I think the, motivation culture I see out there a lot is just like, go harder, do more, that kind of rah-rah mentality.
Yeah. That's like toxic motivation. But if we go back to intrinsic and extrinsic for a second, the external motivators, they can be really effective.
Yeah.
But they're very short term.
Okay.
And so it's like when somebody wants to fit into their wedding dress in 3 weeks, that can be an extrinsic motivator. But then after the wedding is over, they might eat the way they normally eat, or move the way they normally move, because that motivation has subsided. Intrinsic motivation, if you can develop that, that's more sustaining and long term.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But
So-
then you talk about toxic motivation.
I was going to say, you used a word that I want to double click on. You said
Yeah.
toxic motivation.
Yeah.
What would classify as that? Because I have some ideas, but I want to hear yours first.
Like no pain, no gain,
Okay.
all of that.
What makes them toxic?
They are toxic because, first, they ignore the body's inherent signals. And so there's interoceptive awareness. And so that's your body awareness. Like interoceptive awareness examples could be like if you feel a rumbling in your tummy, that means that you might be hungry.
Okay. I
You
think
know?
Pooh Bear said that, right?
That's right.
So basically, to go back to the no pain, no gain analogy, right? Because pain is a signal to stop.
Right.
And then therefore you're not listening to your body's
Right.
signal. That makes it inherently a toxic form of motivation. Is that?
Yeah, it can be, because it
Okay.
can push somebody so hard that not only are they sore the next few days, but they might set themselves for injury, fatigue, really pressure, internal pressure that might, if you're expecting yourself to be like superhero every single day,
Yeah.
that might not be well balanced.
Very healthy or balanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's run back to intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Are there certain instances where one is better than the other?
In some instances, extrinsic motivation can be helpful to get somebody on a habit that
Okay.
they desire. And so if it's exercise that they want to create more consistent behaviors in, but are having trouble doing that, it might be possible that having extrinsic motivators, maybe forming a group of friends that can hold each other accountable and having like this monthly challenge can be helpful to get them on the wagon.
Sure.
And then after that, when they realize that this goal is meaningful to them and it's fun and it improves their mental health and well-being and it improves their sleep, that can be longer sustaining.
Okay. You said something earlier, and you can tell me if this is correct or not, but you said something earlier that made me think that extrinsic motivation methodologies can like kind of not be sustainable long term. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair interpretation, or talk to me a little bit about that?
I can see that as a yo-yo cycle.
Okay.
And so it might be, somebody gets an alarming result in their blood work. And as a result of that, they are saying, okay, I'm just going to eat fruits and vegetables, like minimally processed foods for the next forever. And that extrinsic motivator is their lab work.
Okay.
But after maybe a couple weeks, then they might have a couple looming deadlines at work that take them away from the extensive food preparation that they need to do on the diet that they're on. And it might not be sustainable. And so what somebody can experience there is just falling off tracks and having difficulty resuming the diets that they're on.
Okay, so a little bit of burnout.
A little bit of burnout.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. So with motivation, there's kind of also the complementary goal that you're motivated towards, right? And I've heard you talk a lot in your lectures about, goals being a key component of that. Could you define for me and the audience, what is a goal to you?
What is a goal?
Yeah.
A goal is a self-directed desire to achieve an outcome.
Why is that important?
That's important because, we're all motivated to do something during the day, whether it be get up and go for a jog before starting work, or we're also motivated to hit the snooze button and stay in bed. And so when we're talking about goals give our brains a chance to form a path towards something. And so when we talk about goals at Cascaid, we are always eliciting from the health seeker what they want to achieve, because that gives us a direction with our work with them. And so when we ask for goals, we are inviting them to have a dialogue with us, and it's not a directive, We're asking them what they want, and we're not telling them what they should want.
Give me a comparison. Like what's another application or an analogy for goals, I guess?
You can say that goals to longevity is similar to an address on your Maps app.
Really? How so?
Because when we have a vision of what we want to achieve, then it helps us plot out the points that we could take to get there. And so often I tell health seekers and my clients, when we have this vision, it's not just a vague, ambiguous vision. We try to make it so that it's very actionable. And as a health coach, we sit alongside you, and you're ultimately in the driver's seat of your health journey. We are in the passenger seat. And when you're thinking about the Waze analogy, we're helping you plot points along the way.
So how does that tie into a wellness vision? I've heard that you work with your health seekers and your patients, and you sort of create something called a wellness vision. Number one, what is that, and how does that tie into the goals?
Yeah, there's a lot of research behind imagery. And what imagery does is it gives us a positive foundation to envision what could be possible for somebody. And so in health coaching, we work with positive psychology and the growth mindset and envisioning opportunities instead of seeing all the blockades. And so in the wellness vision, just connect and develop rapport with our health seekers so that they know where we are understanding they are at currently in their health journey. I ask them questions of what they want to see happen, not only as a part of their goals, but then as a result of their goals, as a result of achieving these goals, would they want to feel a sense of freedom to travel? Would they be happier and spend time with their family by reducing stress, for example? What could be possible from this? And from knowing their why, we're able to really create a wonderful story for them that I don't think standard medical healthcare provides.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
All of the
similar.
context, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a very personal aspect of Cascaid that is something that definitely ensures that the human is in the loop and it's not automated.
No AI doctor, huh?
Yeah.
No Dr. Claude, if you will. Okay, so keeping on the theme of goals, I've heard you talk before about something you said, shrinking goals until there's like no friction.
Yep.
I didn't quite understand what you meant by that, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear a little bit about that. What do you mean when you say sometimes it's good to shrink a goal?
I feel like people underestimate how much energy it takes to establish a new goal. So somebody might say, I want to, go run for 30 minutes a day. And 30 minutes is like 2/100ths of a day. So sure, this is possible if I
Okay.
look at it in this frame of mind.
Okay, that's fair.
But they are not taking into account the many, many different micro steps it takes, all the decisions it takes that lead up to that 30-minute run. So, let's take a goal for you, for example. What kind of change would you like to make?
I think I'd like to have a more well-rounded diet. I'm one of those guys that just knows if I eat a lot of protein, I'm probably doing okay, but I know that's probably not the case. I probably
Okay.
should have a little more, fiber, veggies, things like that.
Okay, so fiber and veggies, like if you were thinking about fiber and veggies, when do you think you would want to incorporate that into your week?
My week, probably whatever days I cook dinner for myself.
How many days would that be?
On a good week, let's call it 3.
Okay. So more fiber and veggies, would it mean like make a side salad? Would it mean to steam some vegetables on the side?
Let's go steam some veggies. That sounds good.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Steam some
Yeah.
veggies.
Yeah.
For how many meals? 1 or 2?
I could do 2.
Okay.
I could do 2.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take that goal.
Yeah.
I'm going to steam veggies
Okay.
twice a week for dinner.
Okay.
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 So now tell me about all the little steps that you'll have to take in order to make that happen.
Fair.
We're reverse
Okay.
engineering.
Okay. I'm going to have to go to Costco. I'm going to have
Yep.
to buy some veggies, find ones that fit with my allergens. I have a strange allergy thing.
Okay.
And then, of course, figure out a way to make them that I like, right? The right seasoning, the right way of cooking, if it's steamed, boiled, grilled, whatever. And make sure I have enough time to add that step into, making my dinner.
Right.
And am I missing anything?
You've taken into account transportation, so going to
Okay.
Costco.
Yep.
You've taken into account figuring out how to prep those veggies.
Right.
So would that also include looking online to see different
Sure.
recipes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Research.
So you gotta
Yep.
add that
Gotta
now.
add that. That's fair.
Okay. And then would these be fresh veggies, frozen veggies?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go fresh. We'll go fresh.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot of different steps. And then also, do you have time to go to Costco?
Some weeks I do.
Okay. So it's like we not only set a goal for that singular action, have veggies for 2 nights.
Yeah.
But it can be more complicated than that because it can include a cascade of events and decisions. And it's just like, do I have the time to do this? Do I have the mental energy to do it? Because after a full day at work, you might be a little brain fried,
A little bit.
Yeah. So cognitive reserves might be lower. And when cognitive reserves are lower, our motivation can decrease as well.
That's usually when I end up going frozen food. You're right.
Yeah.
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 That's fair.
It's very fair.
That's good. So that's a great example of shrinking a goal then, so you can understand.
So I usually say you have a goal, shrink it 80%.
Okay. All right.
Because you want the minimal activation energy possible. Almost no activation energy.
Okay.
And
What is activation energy? Sorry.
activation energy is the effort
Okay.
to execute the
Okay, got it.
behavior. A good way to overcome this is to just pair it with another action you're doing. So if you're already going to Costco for supplies during your week,
Yeah.
then you just stop in the freezer aisle, get a bag of frozen broccoli.
Okay.
You know, especially if
Yeah.
you're traveling and you
Yeah,
don't
it's
know if
tough.
it's going to stay good.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, definitely. I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll definitely have time to prep this,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, and
it
then
just
you
grows
come
in the
back
fridge.
home and it's like, oh, hello.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, oh, there's an ecosystem in my
Yeah.
fridge. Yep, got it. Okay. Interesting. Well, thank you for that. It was very enlightening. It's
Yeah.
very cool. Okay. So shrinking goals. You just got a great live example of that, folks. So I think that
I tell people sometimes, like, when you shrink a goal to being almost non-existent, it doesn't mean that you're failing. You're just like clearing the weeds before you plant the seeds.
that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't plant a garden in a yard full of weeds.
Right.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, Tram, I know we're coming up on time here, so I kind of wanted to just ask you last couple questions. One being, what do you think is the biggest either mistake or misconception that people have or make with finding what motivates them, or how to set a new goal, or setting forth in changing their health and longevity for the better?
I would ask them, does it really apply to your values? Sometimes people will set goals because they think that they should, because of societal expectations or because other people are doing it. And this is not long standing, And so when I ask people about their goals, I'm digging a little deeper to see, does this really matter to you? And does it also matter to other people? Like, when you improve on this goal, will it impact others?
Okay.
Yeah. For example, if somebody is wanting to, actually, I did work with a woman who was trying to develop a strength training routine, and she was an older woman, and her why was that she wanted to be involved with her grandkids when they were growing up. And so just being active, and I remember her saying the word participate in their lives rather than sitting on the sidelines. I thought that was such a beautiful
that's meaningful
anchor for her. And so that goal, it was meaningful, and it impacted her grandkids' experience. If you're thinking about if is a goal meaningful, try to make sure it aligns with your values and impacts other people in a positive way.
Tram, over the years in your career as a health coach, what's been a sort of perspective or mantra that you always try to bring with you as you approach health seekers?
I really internalized some of the methods that I've learned throughout the years, and one of the theories that comes to mind for me is this self-determination theory. So it's a theory of motivation and what keeps one internally motivated.
Okay.
And so there's 3 components to this theory, and one of them is autonomy. And autonomy is foundational because it is describing the health seeker as the driver in this journey. And so as the driver, you have a sense of control in this motivation sense. Competence, do you have the skill? Do you have people that can uplift you and help you with the practices to keep you accountable for this? And that also feeds into relatedness. Like, do you have a sense of belonging and connectedness? And so those 3 pillars are really core fundamental things that I keep in mind when I'm coaching people, because if one of those is missing, then motivation starts leaking out. I mean, if I decided I'm going to practice pickleball, and everybody in my community is a fantastic pickleball player, if I go to a drop-in at the courts and I experience, my competence is like really low. So obviously not very skilled, but I'm trying to work on it. And autonomy, this was my decision. I wanted to play pickleball because I want to, hang out with my friends. But relatedness, if I go into an atmosphere that is a little contentious, and like, what are you doing here? You're not that good. And, I don't get the support from other people when I'm trying to learn. That can really make motivation dwindle.
So another thing I've heard you talk a lot about is motivational interviewing. Is there a component of that that's really important to include? Or talk to me a little bit about that and your philosophy on motivational interviewing.
Yeah, and motivational interviewing is working with the ambivalence again. And when you're working with ambivalence, it's important to proceed with caution.
Sure.
And so a lot of times in our medical system, when there is directive medical care, of course, we want our doctors to provide us a diagnosis of what's wrong and how to treat it. We want that directive advice, and that's incredibly valuable. But in health coaching, it is important to ask questions. And so one of the techniques I'm thinking of is called elicit, provide, elicit.
Okay.
And so I'll take you through an example. Say a provider is seeing a perimenopausal woman who has increasing blood pressure and eats a spectacular Mediterranean diet, very heart healthy, low in salt. Say the doctor says, hey, your blood pressure is increasing, just eat less salt and eat less red meat. Okay. That reaction can be a little humiliating. The health seeker might say, I am already doing that. And so in health coaching, what we do is we first elicit. And so that question might be framed as estrogen levels change during perimenopause and they can impact blood pressure. What else do you know about, strategies to lower blood pressure? And can you tell me more about what you do in your normal daily life? That can be an invitation and start a dialogue with the health seeker to tell the provider, oh, I eat really well. I'm a little stressed. I haven't been able to exercise as much anymore. And so it gives an opportunity to explore other things that are impacting blood pressure.
Yeah.
Then the provider can say, well, I have this other information that I have on exercise and blood pressure. Would you be open to receiving that?
Okay.
Woman might say yes. And then after that, she'll give her information. And then the last elicit that the provider can say is, how did that land for you? So it's really supporting the health seeker where they're at, acknowledging what they are doing well in their journey, and providing information when they are ready for it.
All right. Well, thank you, Tram, so much for being here again. And thank you all for listening. This has been the Cascaid Effect podcast with your host, Alexander Galeazzi, and today joined by the amazing Director of Health Coaching, Tram Lay.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.